Hi guys, welcome to what I'm calling Dan Draws. Now I figured I would go step through how I draw a cartoony face. So something along the lines of this, how I do it from start to finish. Yeah, a lot of people have wondered in the past how I do things, so I figured I'd show it. And one of the things I get a lot is, a lot of people say to me when they find out I can draw, "Oh, you can draw, the only thing I draw any good is a stick man, or I can't even draw stick man." And I think that's rubbish. If you're willing to give it a go, I think pretty much anybody can come up with a basic level of drawing ability, something that's not a million miles away from this. So anyway, I figured I'd go through that. First of all though, I'd like to say that at the moment I do have a Kickstarter going for my upcoming comic, The Cosplayer That Doomed the Earth. If you want to check that out, you can check it out on Kickstarter by doing a search for it, or I'll leave a link below the video and you can click on that and be taken to it. But I hope you check it out. It's about a cosplayer who, well, a gamer actually, a retro gamer who cosplays as his hero for the first time, goes to a Comic-Con and then ends up being kidnapped by aliens who think that he is actually the character he's dressed as. So it's worth a look on Kickstarter. I'd appreciate if you did. Anyway, back to the tutorial. Okay, so now I'll get rid of this and I'll turn off the grey background there. Now one of the first things you want to do is create a folder for the head that you're drawing. So we'll do a male head first, but essentially a female head is pretty much the same anyway. Now within that folder, as you can see down here, we got the empty folder. What I tend to do is I draw the line work on a vector layer myself. You don't have to do that. This is how I work in Clip Studio. I don't really use Photoshop anymore because I think Clip Studio is far more intuitive. So within that I go one layer for the rough pencils, then I go a layer for the colour, shadows, highlights, then another vector layer for the line work, and another vector layer for a border. You sometimes find that you end up adding or subtracting from this as you go along anyway. I go down to the first layer underneath where I'll have the line work and I set that to add glow for highlights. Set that to roughly around 15, I do a lot of the time. And the next one down I set to 45 and multiply from the options. So I'll go through this so as if you've never used the package before. So when you've got your canvas open, in the bottom right hand side of the screen you have your layers. The one on the left down by here is for a standard raster layer, and the one to the right of it is for a vector layer. A vector being all, basically it has no sort of real size, so you can scale it up and down without losing resolution. Then, so I set a vector layer for my base, for my pencils, and then I have a bunch of raster layers for the colour because you can't really fill it in with vector. And I put that inside the folder. Now the layer settings are just above that here. Multiply is a good one for shadows. Add glow is perfect for highlights. And you can play around with what the opacity on it you want is, but generally the glow tends to be pretty bright, so I leave it around 15. Sometimes I'll put it up, but generally as a rule, roughly around 15. Again, it goes into how much detail you put into a drawing, but if you want a simple, like, flat colour with shadows and highlights, that's basically where I tend to stick to. Now over here, we've got the brush tools. Switch to the pencil. I tend to use friend and brushes for most. They're not a standard with Clip Studio. You have to get them separately, but it's about $15 for 300 brushes, and all the updates are free. It's definitely worth the money. So I use a 4B pencil for the rough sketching. Now what I say to do for this is you get a rough sort of, it's not exactly a circle when I do it, so not a circle when I do it, so you can do whatever you want, but this is sort of like a bean, and then I tend to do the thing that probably everybody's seen a million times, but the cross through the middle. But this is where I think it gets really easy. This is the bit that a lot of people think, oh yeah, well it gets really hard from there. What I would say is, from here on, you're basically just working with simple shapes, so whatever you want. Now for the eyes, for example, you can have like triangles. Just use the line as a base there, so you can go triangles, or you can go circles, or rectangles. So basically these are just simple shapes. So what I'll do, we'll go with the rectangles so that it mirrors this guy by here. Now with the nose, what I tend to do with the nose is sort of, it varies. Like you can do it in many different shapes. So you can have triangle, you can have diamond, you can have a circle. Those like normally for a middle-aged drunk character. But what I'm going to do this time is we'll go with a sort of diamond shape. Okay. Right. So now you basically, this is just for the outline, so it's going to be pretty sort of rough and things like that, and you don't necessarily have to leave all the lines in there when you come to actually rendering the work. So for example, if you were going to do this on paper, you weren't doing it digitally, I would advise pressing softly with your pencil, maybe keeping it just about that light maybe. Some people like to have, obviously see the canvas below them, so if you have a look at that, you know, I'm drawing it that because I'm using a 4B pencil, but if you were to press lighter on the paper, so you keep everything light. Okay. Now, once you've got that, you want to do, so you've, like I said, you've got sort of diamond for the nose, rectangle there, and a bean-shaped head. Now, we give it a line there for an eyebrow, a line there for another eyebrow. Now, again, with this, it's pretty simple. So from there, then, you can basically just turn it into a sort of triangle. Now, they don't have to be symmetrical because faces aren't symmetrical, and the more the same a face looks, I guess the weirder it looks, or at least in real life. If you take your own face, cut it in half, and then flip that half on top of the other half, it'll look like something completely different. Now, for the mouth, we'll keep it simple, so we just have a line. So there we go. And you put two little lines on the end there, so it gives it a little smile mark. And then if you put a line underneath there, it just gives the illusion of like the sort of bottom lip. If you wanted to, you can even do like a U under the nose there, so you've got the sort of clefty area of the lip. Now, once you've got this here, you're sort of starting to think, right, I've got the basics of the face now, but now I've got to do the shape of it. So I would advise that you do something like this. So you sort of darken the lines a little bit, and then you sort of come down around, give a little bit of a chin. As you can see, again, it's pretty simple. I mean, this is like a squared off U. You see. And but you could do it like that, you know, it's up to you. Again, we're just playing with shapes here really. Bring that over there, and then you come down. Once you've got the sort of basic outline of the face, you sort of work on the ears. Now what I used to tell people is, for simple ones, you can just do a semicircle. Okay, once you've done that semicircle, you can add a little bit at the bottom if you want to, and it's another sort of semicircle at the bottom. Put a T into the ears, so it creates the sort of inner ear section. Now this bit here, you can see the face is starting to form, and it's been pretty straightforward and simple so far. But this one is a bit more detailed than, say, a normal, really cartoony one. So I'll show you another one of those shortly, just as a quick one. But as you see, we've got the pencils here. So if you do a triangle here and a triangle here, then you start to get the idea of the temples. Okay. Now, hopefully I'm taking you through this in a pretty simplistic manner. If anything's confusing or you have any questions about anything, leave a comment below and I'll see if I can get back to you on it. Then what I tend to do here is sort of like the widow's peak, sort of like a triangle here. You could do it just as a triangle if you wanted to. You know, it doesn't really matter. But you can build over that with the hairstyle anyway. So if we would say this guy just shaves his head, let's say he's got a pretty close trim, you can do it the same as this guy over here has got. And if you wanted to see what it looks like roughly, what I would suggest is create another layer over your pencil lines and then just sort of quickly, roughly draw them on to see what it would look like. That's it, with your own drawing, so that way you're not losing any of the image that you've drawn underneath. You don't have to worry about hitting undo all the time, because if you do this and you decide, I don't like that, it's a bit rubbish, just turn the layer off and you've got the head back. Okay, so now you've got, once you've got the head done like this, you can see it's a basic, really basic face. There's no eyes, so what we'll do there, we'll zoom in. What I tend to do for the eyes is we'll pick a smaller pencil, because I was using 25 there, I use 15 now. This is currently the canvas. If you look at the image resolution here, is set to 300 dpi. You can work, it depends on your computer, but you know, 600 dpi a lot of time. If you're doing a lot of images like that, it tends to maybe slow down your computer. 300 is the minimum you want to work at, particularly if it's going to print. Okay, so once you zoomed in, I've got size 15 pencil, and I'll do a circle there, and a circle there. Sometimes you might not get the eyes right, but you can always mess around with that later on and readjust the positioning of them. Now I have to decide, like over here I decided the light was coming down there, so obviously he's got the light in his eyes there, so I'll do the same over here. And here we go. So just a circle for the eye inside of the rectangle that we drew earlier. Okay, so there's the rectangle, the circle, sort of a circle there, and then a circle there. You colour that one in, and you've got yourself an eye. You can do whatever you want. Once you've got the basics of the eye down, you can do whatever you want with the rest of it. It's up to you, but as you play around with it, you'll pick up more and more and more, and you'll learn more, and then you'll start playing around with it more. This is just to give you the basics so you can work from, but you should be able to, from this, do a fairly half decent face at the very least. I'll even talk through colouring here as well. Okay, so once you've got the basic face down, you want to lower the opacity. Now I tend to lower it to roughly 70 to 75%, just to make it fainter. Then I pick not the very top layer I've created. As you can see, it's the second one down. Now that's going to be for the line work. The one above it is going to be for an outline that I tend to like give into some of my drawings. Not everything, but a lot of the stuff I do I tend to give a bold outline. So if I click on here and I get the inks, now I'll pick a size, let's go size 50 brush, because we'll have a nice thick line on it. So we go there, and you basically just start to pick out the key features that you want to keep from your drawing. So obviously we're not going to keep this, we don't want that plus, but we do want to keep the nose obviously, but we're sort of maybe change the details slightly. So you can see there that I've got the nose details in, but I've sort of done it like that. And what you'd do from there then, you'd take the basic details of the nose and start working them as shapes. So there we go, like a little V there. So you've essentially got the nostrils with the outside of the nose and the little V to show the sort of tip. Now you know that the nose comes down roughly here, so just add a line there. You can maybe put a line there. Depends on how big you want the nose to be or how much detail you want it. You could essentially, if you wanted to, so you might, I've got all that, but you could even just have that if you wanted to. You know, you can always add and subtract the details as you go. It's better when you're working digitally with that, because obviously you can edit it a lot more. If you're doing it on paper, then just make sure you've worked out all of your lines before you start inking. You won't have to do that the more and more you practice, but it's worth keeping in mind. Okay, so now we come over here. I've sort of rounded off this rectangle a little bit, so it's not quite so harsh. I'll add a line here and here to show the bottom of the eyes. Now we'll come around here, very, very gently, and here. Okay, and so this is a size 50 brush, but it might be too big for you or too small, so work with what you're comfortable with. And we'll add the details here. Okay, so now we've got the eyes and the nose, and we'll do the little mouth, so a couple of little things there, and we'll draw that across there. We'll add the U, and we'll add the bottom lip. There we go. So essentially you can see now that the face really is starting to get some more definition. If I turn that off, you can see it's starting to form there. This is like really simple, but one thing that's worth knowing is the more lines you add, the more you age the character. So if you were to go like this, then you're starting to make the guy a little bit older, which is fine. It all depends on what you want for the guy, so we'll keep it simple for this, like I keep saying. Alright, so this guy's going to be quite young, and we'll take a little bit of that chin off because it was quite big. Okay, there we go. Take that off, and we got that now. And then we come up to the ear. We'll add the T. Put a little line in there for the bottom lobe area. Come up here. Now we come around here. This is where you come into the sort of sideburns territory. Now this guy's not really going to have any, but maybe we can look at that in another video with hairstyles and beards, etc. Okay, so now this comes down here, and we'll add a T there. with a little lobe. Do a quick save. Make sure you're saving regularly as well, because otherwise you'll end up crying when you spend ages working on something and the entire thing goes because your computer crashes or whatnot. I've got my Cintiq set up to autosave. Well, the program autosaves, but I've also got a save button, hotkey on my Cintiq. Okay, so now this triangle here, you can see it touches the very edge of the line there and here. What you can do with that is just cut it in a little bit and bring it down as it goes there. We'll do the same on this side. Okay, and we'll bring it round so there's a widow's peak sort of type thing there. All in properly. Now, what you tend to do here, you'll add a few lines just to show that it is here. Adds a bit more effect to it. Okay. Do that for the eyebrows as well, but when you do the eyebrows, it tends to make them look a bit bushier. Okay, so now we have got a pretty basic face. As you can see over here, this one's not that much different. So you've got a basic face there, and I tend to think that it looks better when you leave a lot of construction in, even if you turn it down. You know, it just like gives the idea there's more feeling, emotion, flow to it. So once that's done, you can turn the pencils off if you want to. I tend to pick the very top layer then, and what I'll do is I'll pick like a felt pen. This one is size 20, and what I do with this is I will go around. There we go. And I do this all around the outside of the image. Now if you were doing this on a full body, you might do the outline around the entire body of the person, not just around the head, and then do another section around the body. Or you might section it off based on how an image is foreshortened. So like if a guy's reaching his hand forward, you might do an outline around his hand and then another outline around the rest of the body as a separate thing. So it sort of sections it off then. Now this, as you can see, if I turn that layer off, you can see that the line is complete now, so it's solid around the actual details. One of the benefits of this is I think it looks cool when the image is finished, when it's got a bold outline, but it also means if you magic wand it and you pick there, then you can select the entire interior of the image. Which means if you go down to the lowest level, this is still visible because obviously we've turned off the pens, that alternate hair, we've turned off the pencil layer. Go down to the lowest 100% normal raster layer, and this will be our base colour layer. Now what a lot of people tend to do, they'll fill that in one colour, then they'll work on top of that colour with the other colours on different layers, etc, etc. It's fine, I do that sometimes. What I do when it's quickie though is I'll just take I'll sort of suction up the base colour for the skin there. We'll use the same skin colour, but you can play around with skin colours because you know you might want to make him more olive skinned, you might want to make him black, you might want to do whatever really with it. You know, there's so many different tones to it. I don't always use the same one, but this one, just because of the convenience of the fact I got that right there. So then we come around here and we'll add that there, and what I tend to do, I just go around there, and so now you can see I'm just sectioning off areas that I don't want to be anything other than the normal colour. Right. Okay, I've done that. I'll paint back at that. Boom. Right, we got there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that bottom layer. I left that on so it makes it easy for you to see in certain areas. Fill that white. Fill that white. Now I'll give him. Let's give him dark brown eyebrows. But let's maybe. When you get bits like that, when the paint bucket tends to spill over, or your pen spills over into other bits, you just touch it up afterwards. It's not a major problem. So let's see. We'll give him some crazy. Let's say he dyes his hair. Okay. Alright. Just pick whatever colour you want, really. But you could dark brown eyebrows. So his hair is probably brown naturally. So do the same for his eyes. So he's got dark brown eyes. And you might want to zoom in to do that. Now a lot of people will use, you notice I'm still using the zoom icon. I don't use a lot of shortcuts that other people do. I tend to just use the toolbar on the left, which it might seem like it takes longer, but I don't know, I'm used to it. So now you got to think, if the light's coming from up there, then shadow, where you want your shadows to be. So you pick the multiply layer, for your shadows. And I tend to do shadows before highlights myself, but you can do it whichever way you want. And then you pick what colour you want to do it. Now with this guy here, I used a bunch of different purples. So we'll try something, we'll mix something up there. He's got green hair, so let's have his green light in. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll multiply that. So we'll have the shadow come down here. And we'll say he has cheekbones there. And we'll go for the chin. Okay, so we got that there, and then we'll add a little bit there, and we go under the nose, shadow under the nose. Okay, but since we're only coming slightly from over here, well, the light's coming down there, we will add more shadow here, like on, basically like I've done here, and then a little here. Put a shadow in the eye there. You can't really see it there. And once you've got the lines there, you just paint bucket, fill it. Boom, simple, pretty simple. And then you can do the ears with their details there. Now you might want to add, like I say, you can add as many details as you want as you go along. Maybe you want to do that, you know, give them a bit of age with the shadows. You can do that, you know, you can add a bit up here to make it a bit more like hair. Do something like this. This is all up to you, but you know, you can also just stick to just darkness like that. This works as well if you're working with just coloured pencils. You're not working digitally. The same principle is same principle works. So if you'd coloured all this in coloured pencil, you could take a normal HB pencil and you can shade over the top of it like this. It still works the same way. So don't worry about that. But we've got a basic amount of shadow on there now, so we'll give him some highlights. Now, since we're using green light as well, we will go for something light. So if you can see around here on the colour wheel, I've got light green there and dark green there. And what I'll do is I'll say, right, we've got the light there. Okay. 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 Now we'll add light there. And I'm not really good at this whole YouTube thing, so you have to forgive me, but hopefully you'll learn something from this anyway. Get some light there, I will have the light there, and essentially I'm just making it up as I go, but it gives a basic effect here that works pretty well, in my opinion. So we'll go there, and there, maybe add a bit of light there. Okay, so he's got a basic bit of lighting on him. Okay, and what you might tend to do then is you might think, well, the shadow is looking pretty flat, so you can add another raster layer, set that to 45% as well, set it to multiply, and if you've kept your dark green colour, or you can pick a different colour if you want to, then you can just go over areas of it, and you can make them darker. So there we go. And the same thing works with the lighting as well. If you want lighter bits, you can, even if you really wanted to, use gradients for it. So if I went here and I switched that to the darker one, create another layer. But you know how this works varies depending on how you've done it. I'm just doing this to show you, but well, see, you can, you know. And then if you could always come in with the pen, set it to this little transparent thing by here. Is essentially an eraser, so you can come in and just take away as much of it as you want. So if I went there, and but then you know, you might say, well, Dan, you're stopping it from being so simple then. So yes, I mean, you don't have to do this, I'm just showing you that you can. Okay, so but if you've decided that's not what you wanted anyway, you know, you just wanted to keep it simple, then all you have to do is turn that layer off, or you can delete it. So if I do, see, turn it off, bump, bump, and delete, get rid of it. There we go. So we'll save that. And essentially, there you go. You've got a pretty simple cartoon face, and it applies for any type of cartoon face. So for example, if I deselect this and I'll grab the folder for it and I'll drag it over here, once you've practiced with it enough, you can really go to town on what you do with it. So I've just created another folder now, and I've done a quick a bunch of layers inside of it. So I will go there. We'll make that a bit more squashed this time. Give that a bit of a circular nose, circular eye, circular eye. There's the semicircle ear. In fact, we'll make the nose triangular. There we go. Got that on the nose. And this is where you can play around with styles as well. So you see I'm giving him these eyebrows, which are just rectangles, and the more and more you practice with it, the more and more things you can do, and it gets to be quite fun, you know. So if you decided you wanted to do a open mouth, you could do something big like this. Then you're just doing like a semicircle again underneath it, and then when you come to doing the teeth, just do a rectangle and maybe a line across here, and then a lowercase m for the tongue. So there we go. Or a seagull, if you like, the way you were taught in school. Remember, everybody drew seagulls like that? Just do that for the tongue. Then you can go that there, and fill that in. And then if you go big circle there, you can put a black... See, you can do different types of eyes as well. So you wouldn't put colour in this one. You would just leave it as the black pupils with the light there. But, you know, you might want to add hair to this guy, so you might be inclined to sort of do something like that. And the more and more you practice with it, the more and more types of faces you can draw, but it all basically comes from starting with something like this. And let's give this guy a rectangular nose. There we go. And we'll do another little protractor for there. And you can even change the placement on the ears. So, you know, a normal thing would be for him to have the ears there. But you could also have a weird thing where he's got the ears down here. And then you can do like triangle eyebrows. And then his hair could be anything, you know, maybe he's got like curtains. But the basic principle is the same. Once you've got it to this stage, you turn the opacity down, go up to the layer that you've specifically set aside for your pen. You pick your pen, and obviously the pen is the top one here. You've got your pencil. I keep my pencils and my pens next to each other there. So for this guy, I'll pick, I don't know, try size 80. So we'll go there, and we'll go there, and I'm putting in more detail on the nose for this one as a solid shape because he's more cartoony. We'll come around there, do another circle there, and there, and then we'll go there and there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I'm not the best artist in the world, but I've sort of got a few of my own styles that work for me. And here we go. And we'll go under there, and seagull. And then we come down here, and as you can see, this is pretty simple. When you get here, you might even want to go hooray and wing it and add a little chin, and then you get, whoops, a daisy dando, and there you go. And put that over there, and boom. And even with this one, I mean, this is a particularly different style to our homeboy over here, but if I turn the pencils off there and get rid of old long face by here, if I go onto this layer, grab the outline, now the felt here, we'll set it to 20, set it for 30, because he is more cartoony. Go around here, and we will come up here. Again, super quick. I'll show you the way of colouring that other people tend to do in a moment. Not everybody, but some people do it. There's loads of different ways, and you'll find what works best for you. And you'll go from there, but this is a really simple way to learn to start with. So we'll take the skin colour there, and we'll go down to the base, and we will plop it in there. Now, so that's the basic one. Let's actually change the skin colour a little bit. Let's give it, there we go. So fill that in. Now what some people will do, they'll go another layer up, and they'll go, right, there we go. And so the next layer up. So this isn't the same layer, so I can turn that off, and I've got the brown solid underneath it. Okay? And then we'll go The problem with this is I've done the white on top of an area that would be inside of the mouth. So what people tend to do then, they'll create a layer under between the two, and they'll put the colour in there then. So I can drive under that without going over the white. Okay, fill that in. We'll give a different colour for the tongue. And there we go. And we'll give a different colour, a darker colour for the very back of the mouth. So there we go. Now we'll go for the hair, and the hair we'll have as a sort of black, and here we go. But play around with whatever skin tones you want and stuff like that as well. Now once you've got the basics down there, as you can see down by here, I've got a layer with the hair, the eyes and the teeth. Underneath that is the mouth, the interior, and then underneath that you got the skin. Okay, so I can turn those off, and I've been building on it like that. Set the next layer above it to 45, set that to multiply. Pick whatever colour you want for your shadows. We'll go for a dark red on this one, and we'll add it as if it's coming straight down this time. Even despite the way I've done the light in there, you just play around with it, have some fun. Doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. So inside the mouth, we want that to be a bit like that. There we go. And put a bit under the eyes. Okay, and here we go. Pretty simple stuff. And we'll add another layer. We'll set it to, I'll show you a slightly brighter highlight. So we'll add glow, set at 25%, all down around here, remember. We'll pick a light red. Okay, now we'll go, and because the opacity is a bit higher, it shows more of the red off. If I go lower, I sort of take it back out, see? Okay. Right. And here we go. So we got a different type of almost Muppety looking kind of dude. Right. And there we go. And he's in his own folder as well. So I can drag him down there. Up there maybe. Grab this dude. Pull him down by here. And then you've got 3 different heads. Slightly different styles. And all relatively simple to do. It's just a case of using basic shapes. So just remember your basic shapes when you're constructing it. Your bean, your plus, your eye shape, whether that's rectangle, triangle, circle, your nose, again, whether it's diamond, triangle, circle, your mouth can just be a line, your eyebrows can just be a line to build up on them, semicircle for the ears, triangle on the temples, triangle for the widow's peak, or, you know, you don't have to do that, you could have a straight line, make it up. But start with the shapes simple like that, and you can't go far wrong. It's a pretty simple way of doing it. Okay guys, I think I'll leave that there. We shall call the video there, and as I said earlier in the video, I am currently running a Kickstarter for my comic book, The Cosplayer That Doomed the Earth. I would very much appreciate it if you gave it a look, and if you like what you see, then consider backing it. It's for issues 1 and 2 of the comic, and it's a comedy. It's had good reviews, so I hope you'll consider backing it. But yeah, that's the video. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. I shall link to the Kickstarter. I'll also link to my Patreon, which I've had running for the last couple of years, but I've never really done a YouTube video before. Anyway, yeah, so I'll leave all those links for you. Any questions, leave them in the comments below, and thank you very much. Cheers guys, bye.